All right, this is Epictetus, the complete works. This is part 19. When you've learned not to value things that are external to you and aren't subject to your will, when you realize that none of them is yours, but that the only things that are up to you are assessing things correctly and your beliefs, inclinations, desires, and aversions. Under these circumstances, there's no point to flattery or obsqueness, is there? Under these circumstances, why miss the peace and quiet and you enjoyed there and your family haunts? Wait a bit, and places here will be familiar to you in their turn. And then, if you're so small-minded, weep and moan all over again when it's your time for you to leave these places as well. So how do I show affection for my family? As a noble person, and as one blessed with good fortune, reason never wants anyone to be absquenious, submissive, dependent on someone else, or the kind of person who might find fault with God or another human being. So show affection as one who observes these rules. But if this affection, or whatever it is that you call by the name, is going to turn you into a pathetic slave, it does you no good to be affectionate. What's stopping you from loving someone knowing that he's mortal and is likely to leave for elsewhere? Didn't Socrates love his son? He did, but as a free man, as a one who bears in mind that his primary relationship should be with the gods. That's why he's consistently behaved as was appropriate for a good man, not just when delivering his defensive speech, but when proposing a counter penalty as well, and even before his trial, when he was serving on the council or in the army. But we find all sorts of excuses for debasing ourselves. For some, it's a child, for others, a mother or a brother. But it's wrong for anyone to make us miserable. Rather, everyone should make us happy, and especially God, because that's what we are created for. Consider now, was there anyone Diogenes didn't love? Look at all the hardship and bodily abuse he gladly accepted from the common good of humankind. That's how kind and benevolent he was. But how did he love people? As was proper for a servant of Zeus, and that he cared for people, at the same time deferred to God. That's why he was the only one whose country was the whole world rather than a particular place. When he was taken captive, he didn't miss Athens and his friends and his acquaintances there, but got on good terms with the pirates themselves and tried to reform them. And later, after he'd been sold into slavery in Corinthia, he lived exactly as he had earlier in Athens. If he ended up in some other name, he'd have done the same there as well. That's how freedom is achieved. That's why he used to say, slavery became a thing of the past for me after antithesis set me free. How did antithesis set him free? Listen to what he says. He taught me what's mine and what isn't. Possessions aren't mine. Relatives, family, friends, fame, familiar places, familiar patterns of life. He taught me that none of these are mine. What is yours then? The use of impressions. He showed me that this is something I have that's unimpeded and unconstrained. No one can obstruct me and no one can compel me to use my impressions except as I wish. So who can have power over me? Philip, Alexander, some other name, the great king? How could they? After all, anyone who's going to be subjugated by another person must first be subjugated for a long time by things. So a person over whom pleasure, pain, reputation, and wealth have no power, and who's capable, when it seems the right thing to do, of spitting his entire body at someone and departing, whose slave can he be? Whose subject? If Diogenes has succumbed to the pleasures of living in Athens, he'd have been under everyone's thumb, and anyone who was stronger than him would have had the power to cause him distress. Can you imagine him wielding the pirates into selling him to some Athenian or other, so that he could see fair, some name again, and long walls, and some name again? See the sight, slave, but what kind of person will you be? A despicable slave? What good will it do for you? I'm no slave, but a free man. Are you free? Prove it. Look, someone has laid hold of you. It's the person who currently plucking you out of your familiar way of life. And he says, you're my slave, because it's up to me to stop you living as you wish. It's up to me to set you free or bring you low. I can put a smile back on your face if I choose, and off you'll go to Athens in high spirits. What do you say to this man who's made a slave of you? What kind of manumitter can you present with him? Or perhaps you won't make eye contact at all with him, and rather than going through the whole procedure, you'll just beg him to let you go. Man, you should be happy to go off to prison. You should eagerly run ahead of those who are taking you there. And then not only are you reluctant to live in Rome, but you long for Greece. And when it's time for you to die, are you going to use that as another occasion to come up with bewailing the fact that you're never going to see Athens again or stroll in the Lyceum? Weren't the troubles you had at home enough for you? Look at all the pain and grief they cause you, with no traveling involved. Why have you added to their number? And if you ever make new friends and acquaintances, they'll just give you more reasons to feel sorry for yourself. And so will you're becoming attached to a new place. What reason do you have for living then? Is it so that you can surround yourself with more and more ways to make yourself miserable? And you call this affection? Man, what kind of affection is that? If it's a good thing, its outcome is never bad. If it's bad, it's no concern of mine. I was born for things that are good for me, not for those that are bad. How can we train ourselves in this regard? First, the highest and principal discipline, which stands right at the entrance, so to speak, is that whenever you become attached to anything, don't treat it as something irremovable, but as though it belongs to the same category as a pot or a cup, so that when it gets broken, you remember what it was and don't get upset. The same goes for what we've been talking about as well. If you kiss your child or your brother or your friend, never give the impression free rein. Don't allow it to expand as much as it wants, but hold it back. Curb it in the same way that those who stand behind generals as they're celebrating a triumph remind them of their humanity. In much the same way, you too should be reminding yourself that what you love is mortal. It isn't something that belongs to you. It's been given to you for the time being, not as something irremovable or permanent. It resembles a fig of grapes in the sense that they arrive at a particular time of the year, and it would be stupid to long for them in winter. So if you long for your son or your friend at the time when they aren't given to you, you're longing for a fig in the winter. Believe me, as the winter is to a fig, so every circumstances given by the universe is to the things that are destroyed by the circumstances. Moreover, at the very time that you're taking pleasure in something, present yourself with the opposite impression. Can there be any harm in murmuring in an undertone as you kiss your child, tomorrow you will die? And the same goes for your friend. Tomorrow you'll leave the country, or I will, and we won't see each other again. I think that's a good stopping point right there.